Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's devotional. This week, we are focusing on trusting God's process, and tonight's topic is the consequence of not trusting God. That's right, the consequence of not trusting Him. And there could be many consequences of it. There are grave consequences. I think sometimes we forget that because we are saved or we become believers, that we don't have to deal with consequences of actions. And that is so far from the truth. So I am just waiting a couple, not even a couple, just maybe one half a minute, and we are going to get this party started. Hi, Sister Marilyn. How are you? Oh, my goodness. So it's our Thursday menage. Yes, a Thursday party. And so we are doing good. I got everything and situated and in motion. I can see comments. I can reply where I need to reply. So we can get this party started. We can fully get it started. So welcome this evening, everyone, to Trusting God's Process, the consequence of not trusting God. This is our fourth day. This is Thursday into this devotional for this week. And it is amazing. It's just when you think about the whole process and trusting God in His process and the things that He is doing for us and things for us, we forget that there has to be a level of trust. Yes, my sinuses are. The weather is changing a lot. It was really, really hot. Now it's getting cool, and I don't do well with the adjustment of getting cooler so quickly. So it's a matter of sometimes it wants to act right and sometimes it doesn't. But we are going to continue on. I've taken all the meds. I think once I'm done this evening, I'll just fix me a nice cup of tea and, do some work, and it should be all good. So tonight's devotional is going to be coming from Proverbs, and it's going to be coming from Proverbs 11:28 and Proverbs 28:6. And when we think about consequences, the consequences is, the responsibility that you have to take for the things that you've done or for actions that you've committed. And again, sometimes because we've become believers and because we've come in the fold, we don't always get the consequences we deserve when it comes to certain decisions. But we have to understand that there's still consequences when we don't do something. There's still consequences for disobedience to God. And so when you don't trust Him, when you don't fully give into Him, give Him your all, there are consequences, and when, like, we all have these moments of weakness, it'll test our faith and it'll test our commitment, because we're not perfect. And, there's chances, we'll give into the weakness a time or two. Our flesh will decide to take the path of least resistance. And I'm going to be honest, I can sometimes be that person that takes the path of least resistance. I am always a person that kind of likes rigid, instruction. And if you give me too many options, I'm going to take the path that is going to be the least troublesome for me. So, and I know many of us can be that way, because it's just like, okay, if you're giving me 3 choices and 2 of them are extremely hard, and one of them, all I have to do is just sit there, which one am I going to take? Of course, we're going to take the path of least resistance. It's what we do, and I'm going to be honest, I'm so thankful that in those moments, God's grace and mercy was so abounding and so generous. Now, I want you to understand something still. there is consequences for sin and disobedience. There is still consequences. Just because we are believers, just because, we say we belong to God, we still have consequences for our actions. There's always a reaction, an action and a reaction, cause and effect, yin yang, good evil, black white. There's always, an action or a counteraction to something that you do. So you can't be out here all free willy and just think you can hurt people's feelings and you could do whatever you want and not deal with the consequence of what happens with that. But the same thing goes with God. You are not going to be able to just get out there and just do what you want to do when you want to do it and not think that there's not a consequence of, not doing what he's told you to do. So I'm going to read Proverbs 11:28. And it says, he that trusteth in his riches shall fall, but the righteous shall flourish as a branch. The basis of that for me, as I'm telling you, is that for the love of money. So when your righteousness, the money that you get, when that is the forefront, when you chasing money, when you are doing whatever you can to obtain it, get it, maintain it, or whatever, you're going to fall. It's not maintainable. Because again, anything that you get outside of God, you have to stay outside of him to keep and to maintain. So let's go over to Proverbs 28:26. And that reads, he that trusteth in his own heart is a fool, but whosoever walketh wisely, he shall be delivered. There goes to lean not to your own understanding. Because see, our hearts can be fickle. It can, to be okay one minute, ticked off the next. Like you one minute, don't like you the next. So I tend to try to not do anything when I'm upset or ticked off, or, because what comes out your mouth, the actions that you do, even though you can correct them, you oftentimes can't. Sometimes it's like, it's like toothpaste. Once it's out there, it's out. If you successfully put toothpaste back in the tube, I want to see it. And I want to see it on video. I don't want you to tell me you did it. I want to see you do it on video. Okay? Because once it's out, it's out. Just like once a glass is shattered, once you put it back together, it's never the same. Now, the Bible mentions time and time again of stories of godly people who failed to trust in God in moments of hardship. For example, Abraham claimed his wife as his sister more than once out of fear. In Numbers 20, Moses struck the rock in disobedience, and as a result, he was not able to enter into the promised land. We all have been there, but we've also experienced the results of not trusting God. And some people's like, well, what are these results? Like, what are these consequences? I know for me, when I don't trust God, I miss out on blessings. I miss out on opportunities. I end up in a holding pattern because now, I've decided to stop allowing him to do what he does. And now I'm driving again. Now, even though the United States and, the state of Georgia and other states says I am a capable driver and I am free and I have a driver's license and I can drive on these roads. When it comes to my life, when it comes to the road of my life, I am not qualified to drive. So therefore, anytime I get behind the wheel and say, you know what, God, you done got me to this point. You done got me over this rocky road. I think I can go back. I think I can do it now. And so what he does is he step back and he allows you to do it. However, you miss tail signs when you go left when you should have went right, or you should have went straight. You don't stop when you should have. You end up in a ditch again. You are so busy worrying about what's coming forward, you're missing the opportunities right then and there, because while you're driving, you can only pay attention to the road. You can't be on the phone. You can't be talking to Susie. You can't be talking to, Bishop John. You can't do any of that. Your focus has to be on the distractions of the road. So that's why you miss out on the opportunities and the blessings, and therefore the consequences of you, deciding that you're going to take over driving the road of the road of your life. You miss those things, and then you look back, and now you're in a rut. And he delivers, but it may not be as expeditiously as you would hope. Because some things that we do takes time to purge. Behaviors that we've learned takes time to purge. So not only have you missed a blessing, missed opportunities or squandered them away, you've wasted time. And of everything, you can't get your time back. He can present you with another opportunity. There's going to be always additional blessings. But the time that it takes for you to get back on track, you can't get that back. You can't get the time lost because you decided to be the navigator. And you can't get that time that he had to bring you back to where you were to restore you so that you can move forward. Because I think we believe that once we say, God, take the wheel, we tried it, we apologize, we repent. We think that, okay, we should be able to be back on track. But unfortunately, you done drove 50 miles beyond where you should have never been. So if you at the step, the red light, and you were supposed to drive 10 miles and turn left. Well, you don't went 60 miles down, you don't went straight. So now he's got to bring you back those complete 60 miles and bring you back to the point you're supposed to have been. And of course, doing that thing, you done picked up bad habits, you done picked up people, you done picked up situations, you done picked up things you should not have. Habits, insecurities, mistrust, unforgiveness, spite, pettiness, all those things we picked up when we've decided that we are going to drive the road of our life ourselves. And so once that happens, he's got to clean that up. He's got to fix it. Proverbs 11:28 speaks to the consequence of trusting riches and other things instead of God. The verse says that when we do this, we will fall. And it's no doubt that trusting the world leads to failure. In addition, as of Proverbs 28:26, it says those who are wise enough to trust in him will be safe. And those who oppose and trust in themselves, well, they've just gone by the wayside. And see how this interchanges and correlates with one another is that when we decide to trust in God, there's safety that guards us. Again, that is that full, whole armor of God. When we decide to trust in him, that safety is going to cover us. It's going to protect us. It is like a force field, and it allows us to operate the way God intended us to operate while he's driving. So we can be focused on the task at hand instead of worry about navigating through the changes and the difficulties of life. We ain't got to worry about that. When I think about how encouraging that is, for me, it's such a blessing to know that God is on our side through thick and thin. And I do mean through thick and through thin. Believe you me, if you don't know, you should know that when times are rough, times are tough, when you don't know how you're going to make it, when you don't know how things are going to meet, how ends are going to meet, how food is going to come, how bills are going to be paid, just anything, how health is going to be restored, he's there. But you have to trust him, because the option of not trusting him is not good. I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want that for your life, and I definitely wouldn't want it for mine. But you have to be willing to put in the work. Now, when we're talking about trusting him and what happens when you don't, and the downfalls, whatever, it's not meant to be used as a fear tactic. And that's what the enemy tries to do. He tries to make it as, see, you should be scared, so therefore you shouldn't do this. And he is not to be a fear tactic. It is the unadulterated truth of what can happen when you go outside of his will. Basically, it's a warning. Like, we heed the warnings of the world when they tell us that there's consequences to our actions. Why do we question God about consequences to our actions? Because we do that because we try to say that God is so loving and he's so merciful and he should always forgive us. Yes, he does forgive us. But that doesn't mean there's not consequences that goes with our decisions. See, it's this thing called free will. That's like me. Let's correlate it to the world, since this is how we gonna rock. So you done went to your job and you done told your manager where to go, how to go, the quickest way to go, and what you ain't gonna do. Do you think you're gonna have a job? They're gonna nicely escort you out with security. And you probably not even gonna be able to get the stuff off your desk. They'll clear it off for you. That's the consequence of being negligent with your mouth. Now things may have happened. You may have, a year later, so you may have apologized. You said, with regret, but the consequence still is you don't have a job. And you can't say, oh, God is testing me. No, that is a consequence that you've created, because that was a problem you created. Just the same thing when when it comes to God. When he says, I need you to follow me wholeheartedly. I need you to read my word. I need you to study. I need a relationship with you. I need to talk with you. I need you to feed the hungry. I need you to minister to the heartbroken. I need you to look after children. And you decide, well, that's just not my thing. You know what happens? Sometimes it's reassigned to someone else. And you're put in a waiting position, because the condition of your heart has become hardened, and therefore he can't work with that, and he can't do anything with that. So he's going to just allow you to sit there, and it's going to have to be some work that's done. And it doesn't mean that he's not going to make sure things are taken care of. Your basic necessities are taken care of. But you know what? All the things that you thought was supposed to come to you, the blessings, you're seeing other people getting blessed and elevated and things like that, and you sitting there because you have to deal with the consequence of not doing what he told you to do. Again, Moses did not see the promised land because he was disobedient. That didn't change. That was the consequence for that particular disobedience. So don't just think that, okay, I may have gotten away scot-clear, whatever, and whatever. I know for me, the disobedience when I decided to form an alliance with someone that God told me definitely not to, and he didn't want it out there. He wanted me to keep it close. And I made a decision that I could achieve things quicker and faster if I partnered. Well, the problem, you know what the consequence was for me for that one? I lost that entire business venture, never to be able to use it again. Very lucrative though. But that's my consequence for my disobedience. And I live with that every single day. So therefore, I never ever want to be in a position or want you to be in a position that God is blessing you with something and he's telling you to do something and move, whether it's in business, whether it's in ministry, whether it's with your family, whether it's with your health. He's telling you to do something. You know, and you may just say, well, yeah, I want to do it, but I want this person to help me. I want to do it this way. And he's saying, no, I want you to do it this way. Just know when you disobey him, there's a consequence that may follow. You know, the one time you disobey him could be the matter of your healing. It could be the matter of your business growing. It could be the matter of your family, you know, being whole. There's so many things that could be consequences of your disobedience, of you and I's. So never think we're above consequences. Just like you have consequences in the world, you have consequences with God. And it's time for us to stop taking God for granted, because we do things to God that we would never do to an employer, a minister, people, you know, just people of the world. There's things we do God so dirty. And he loves us so much. And he cares for us so much. See, we're in a phase of just doing it. We're in the phase of moving forward, doing the things that we need to do, and not saying how difficult it is, how hard it is, how much of a struggle it is. That's a given. That is a given. Because we are believers and we've made a decision that we are standing wholeheartedly for him, the enemy is going to come. The trials are going to come. The anxiety is going to come. He's going to try to slither in and do whatever he can to distract you, to get you off track, to get you off point, to get you to do something else besides the purpose in which God has given you. So that's a given. You're going to have some pushback. You're going to have some struggles with that. So we're just not going to ever give that any more power with the words. You know, it says life and death lies in the power of your tongue. This little thing right here gives things power, gives things life, and it can, you know, it kills, it gives life, it does all of the above. So let's stop saying to ourselves, oh my goodness, it's so hard to trust God. I got to struggle when I trust him. Let's take that out of the vocabulary. Let's say we're going to trust him regardless. We already know that there's going to be struggles and times when, you know, we may feel weak and whatever. That's a given. But let's stop putting that in the atmosphere, because what we're doing is we're giving more onus to the struggle or the heartache or the hardship than God himself. We're making that more powerful than the God that we serve. And that's why we have to stop doing that. You know, now my prayer always is that, you know, we don't have to face the consequences that, you know, again, like when we, you know, disobeyed, you know, the goal is to always be like, Lord, you know, search my heart, you know, guide me, you know, yes, I've learned from this mistake. Let's, you know, get back on, you know, back on track. And, you know, you never want to continually repeat the same old problem over and over again. You know, see, I just want to remind you just to keep your trust in God through the good, through the bad, and through the ugly. Like you'll never, you know, you'll always regret not trusting him. You'll never regret trusting him. You will always regret not doing what he told you to do. You'll always regret not doing it. But when you do what he tells you to do, when your ways line up with his ways, the blessings are tremendous. It is exponential, and it is more than anything you could ever imagine. So just trust in him, because I don't ever want us to be at a point where we don't trust him and we have to deal with those consequences, because that's not great and it's not fun. And again, this isn't a scare tactic. This isn't a fear tactic. This is a love tactic. Because trusting in him is the best thing you can ever do in life. Believe it. Believe it. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining us this evening for trusting God's process, the consequence of not trusting God. We will, of course, be here tomorrow at 8 p.m. We're back on our regular time on tomorrow, 8 p.m. I definitely want to thank, everyone who is watching us on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube, on Twitch, our broadcast partners, GMAP Broadcast Network. God has just been so amazing with the growth and the expansion of the devotional and the ministry. Also keep Minister Peterson lifted. As you know, you see her. She has been busy. If you are a new member, you saw her video in the group introducing herself and doing something different. So that's amazing. Also, if you are on Facebook and you are not a part of the group, I need you to come on in. That's where all the goodies are. All the goodies are in the group, resources, Bible verses to learn, different study, guides. So come on in. So you can find us at YV Daily Devotionals. That's Y as in yellow, V as in Victor, Daily Devotionals. Come on and join the family. I know many people have asked, are we going to expand it outside of Facebook? That is something we are looking into, but as soon as we have it, we will definitely let you know. But if you're on Facebook, come on to YB Daily Devotionals, and we are having an amazing time in there. So I want you guys to have a wonderful evening. Know that we love you dearly. We are definitely keeping you in prayer. We'll definitely put up the prayer request link also again, and it's also in the end credits. We will see you tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. So it's 8 p.m., same location. Love you, be blessed, and you have a wonderful evening, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.